Hi, my name is Magnus Mazimaka, Chief Editor Taarifa. So, guess what? Cimerwa just recorded almost 70% revenue, annual earnings. And I can see here with almost double of the profit, 111%. And also as a listed company, basic earnings per share to 110%. In the most difficult times for a company to record and register positive results, that's incredible, good news. I think I should go have a conversation with the CEO, Mr. Sigei, for a detailed conversation about how they made it when everyone is having difficult moments. Good morning, Mr. CEO.
Good morning, Magnus. Nice to meet you again.
Yes, yesterday you had one of those great moments just shortly before the end of the year where you announced results that shows the performance of the company. And according to what you showcased yesterday, I think you had a smile and your shareholders were smiling. And this is coming at a time when we are dealing with a very difficult moment of facing the pandemic. I don't want to announce that. You should do that for us. How did the company perform?
Thank you, Magnus. Indeed, as you say, it was a special moment for us. In fact, this was the second set of results that we are announcing as a listed company. As you know, we got listed in August last year, in 2020, right, when we had the pandemic. Yesterday's results were, as you say, great. About 7% increase in turnover to about 67.4 billion Rwandese franc. So the top line, we managed to sustain a good level of growth in spite of the circumstances of COVID and all that. And in terms of the bottom line, we did even better with our profit before tax going up by about 179%, which I want to believe is a bit unique. And net profit more than doubling. I think the growth was about 111% to about 4.2 billion Rwandese francs.
Wow.
And the earnings per share also more than doubled to 5.86. That's about more than 110% growth as well. So indeed, it's a set of results that we are very proud about as a company.
When you break the numbers and mentioning how you're getting double digits and doubling profits at a time when most businesses are under financial distress, how does that make you feel, and what does it speak about the company and the management?
Yeah, that's a great question, I must say. As they say, you get to see and do the quality of an organization and teams during difficult moments. It's not during normal times that the best comes out in people. So I'd like to believe that this was one of those for us. That we brought out the best in Cimerwa, the quality and the resilience of the organization, the teams that lead it, all the way from the board to the management and all the staff, and also the support ecosystem in terms of the stakeholders, the PPC group, and everybody else that has come to hold hands with us. So that's what it really speaks to, in my opinion.
Specifically, what exactly did you do? Now I'm speaking to the CEO. What kind of strategies, what moves did you make to achieve this?
Yeah, but thank you, Magnus. One of the things that is really key in any company, not just Cimerwa, is to have a clarity of purpose and direction, long term. As in, what are you about? What is at the core? And I think for us, this is pretty clear, to build better lives and to strengthen Rwanda. That's why we exist. So if you really go for that consistently, then the other levers are going to fall in place. So we were pretty determined with that in spite of the very difficult circumstances during COVID. So with that, then we are able to define very clearly the various levers, what we call strategic objectives, that are crucial in terms of ensuring that the company is in a good state in spite of the difficult circumstances. So talking about, maybe I can speak to a few priorities within that framework. During this moment when everybody was going through, the COVID challenge, we had a few focus areas within that, strategic framework. And one of them was a focus on health and safety. That was actually the number one, to make sure that our employees and our partners are healthy and safe. Because you cannot talk about anything else if that one is not ticked. So we had to give the absolute first priority to this. Because also, health and safety is kind of a license to operate. Yeah, if your people are healthy, if your partners are healthy, if you're taking care of the environment and the community, then then things will be sustainable. And I think this was really important because we were able to work very closely with all the various stakeholders, the community, and so on and so forth. And that allowed us to be, trusted that we could handle the situation, and therefore means, we could be able to sustain and keep the operations open. It doesn't mean that we were not impacted, but to a large degree, we were able to weather that by doing that. So that was the first priority. Then, in the circumstances of the last 2 years, where we've had, COVID in and out, one wave after the other, lockdowns, restrictions, and disruption of supply chains, we had to really be dogged and focused on two other things. One of the next one is cost management and cash preservation. So it was one of us.
So you had to deal with your overheads in a completely different manner.
Yes, not just overheads. It's the whole cost, because cost is not just about overheads. It's also about efficiencies in the operations. And as you've seen in that set of results, our cost of sales remained flat, about 0% compared to previous year, in spite of the activity or the revenues going up. So the costs were well managed. And this is a combination of two elements. One is around efficiencies, and the other one is around looking at all the pockets of cost, basically to say, where can we, during this difficult times, where can we optimize?
That's a bit unique.
Yeah.
Sales versus cost, to be able to maintain cash at the end of the year.
Yes.
Is where the science is. That's where the trick is.
Yes.
How can you do that?
It's so I'll give you a few examples on the cost side. Some of the big levers, as you know, energy, logistics, and what we call in cement, clinker factor. Clinker is a very expensive component to produce.
Yes.
So the lower the clinker factor, the lower your cost, without compromising on the quality, and also the better the outcome for the environment. Because maybe I won't get into the detail for now, but the lower the clinker factor, the better the CO2 per ton that you have in your cement bag. So some of the things we focused on was what we call, to bring down these costs, is what we call alternative fuel substitution. Because as you know, we rely on coal for heat. So we had to continue the effort, because we made investments, and I've got the ability to substitute the coal in the plant with biomass and other alternative fuels. And we are now close to 15% in that journey.
Wasn't this a plan prior to the pandemic?
Indeed it was. That is why I was talking about pandemic or no pandemic. One of the crucial things in any company is a clarity of purpose and direction.
Okay.
Yes. But what I have to say is the pandemic, especially, it made us really dig even deeper, not only on this particular issue, but in that area of efficiency and cost generally. So it's a combination of, on the energy part, alternative fuel substitution, innovation to be able to reduce clinker factor, and also really looking at the product portfolio. We had a major drive on what we call a cost savings program, and also we were not just focusing on cost, we were focusing on cash, because cash is king. You can make a profit, but you don't have the cash. I think you've seen in the balance sheet there,
yes.
we closed the year with more than 14 billion.
The interesting part in the numbers I'm seeing here, that the volume of sales, in terms of numbers, like you say, almost 7%. But the profit is more than double, 111%.
Yeah.
For an ordinary person, when it comes to numbers, that's difficult to explain.
Yeah.
What are those key moves that you were making consistently until it brought you to the end of the year?
So as you know, the bottom line is brought by, it's a combination of the top line, revenues, which I think you've seen there is 7% growth. And by the way, to achieve that is also quite a bit of work, including various route to market actions, growth of exports, which we, at the end of the year, we were close to 20%, as we indicated yesterday. So there's quite a lot of action to achieve the 7%. But below that is then how well you manage your operations and how well you manage your cost. So it's two things: operational efficiencies in all respects, not just the plant, but even also the supply chain, logistics, in order to bring down the cost. So there is our plant has performed much better. When the plant runs better, then the costs come down because it's more efficient. Things like energy consumption, things like when a plant runs better, power consumption comes down. Then there is the other element of innovation in the operations, as I indicated, and there is a number of things there, especially on product innovation and process innovation in terms of how we make our product, changing the chemistry a little bit, while keeping our eye on the quality. As you know, CIMERWA is well known for having a very good quality product. So that is the other element. If you look at the area of supply chain and logistics, it's also about being really very close to that area, turnaround of trucks, bringing that down, and also enhancing governance. This, I have to say, was a major. If you want to build a resilient company, one of the critical things that you really need to look at is the governance around it. So if you look at our situation from last year, since we became listed, we've strengthened the governance framework in the company all the way from the board.
Specifically, what are you trying to say?
So here, for example,
with your expenses.
On the governance framework, governance drives a lot of things, because it means, for example, you're more thorough on your procurement. So it means you get the best value for money when you go for, be it transportation, be it materials, be it spare parts, be it whatever you go for. And this, at the end of the day, is not only good for, reputation, but it reflects on the cost. There's a very direct correlation. So we did a lot of work as a company. As you know, our board was reconstituted. Now we have a very strong set of board members, highly experienced, with independent directors as well. And also the committees were reconstituted. So the board, a great job has been done there since we became listed. And then below that, we've also reviewed a lot of policies that support different activities within the company. And so in other words, Magnus, what I'm saying here is a great contributor to the performance, in addition to what I said, is resetting the tone in the company.
I see.
And the governance element of it is really crucial. And I must thank the board and all the stakeholders for their support in this, and the management as well, because it was a lot of work. So, laying a lot of the foundation, and this is what you must have if you want to build a company that is sustainable long term.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So and then there's also other elements that have assisted us. Below the operations, our interest has also come down as we repay the loan that we have to pay. Yeah.
So there are a couple of other factors. Actually, that brings me to the question of, while you're speaking of the numbers, is consumers.
Yes.
It's construction. That's what cement does.
Absolutely.
Throughout the pandemic, all sectors were affected, in a positive way, but largely negative. So construction was going on, and it kept some people putting food on the table. And I want to hear from you, to what extent, or can you mention particular projects or areas of construction that really impacted on your numbers?
Yeah, thank you very much, Magnus. So in terms of our volumes, we have various channels. We have the trade, we have the construction projects, as you mentioned, or in key infrastructure projects, and we have exports, and we have what we call concrete product manufacturers, people who use cement to do some value addition.
To add value.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So all these have been key segments. Now, as you mentioned at the beginning, the country in the calendar year 2020 went through a difficult moment, like everywhere else in the world. With the GDP, I think there was a dip of about -3%.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, and then that is as you know, our year begins in October. So we were also, this year was impacted by that. Now, the trade segment was particularly impacted because people had lower money, less money in their pockets to spend.
To be able to facilitate
absolutely. And now, so what we had to do is to work especially on the other segments in order to boost our revenues. And I have to say, during this year, the key projects that were in the pipeline began to convert. A lot of them had delayed for the last 1 year, but there is a few that.
Are there specific ones?
Bugesera Airport began partly towards the end of the year, and I think it's going to be one of the anchor projects in the next financial year, so that is good for us. We have also some various projects, power projects. We have roads. We have a bit of schools. Towards the Mineduk one was getting finished. It came at the beginning of the year. So there is a couple of projects. Now, one of the things that assisted us also, because to be honest, the overall market growth was not. It was almost flat. It wasn't, because remember,
impressive.
Yes, the market itself, and this is
speaking.
Yes, correct. I'm talking about the Rwanda domestic market, but you have to put it in context, because the previous year there was a growth of more than 20% because of Mineduk. So when you have a very strong, base to grow on that is not that easy, especially when the GDP. Yeah, but so within that market, we worked to grow our market share. So we grew our market share during the year. So that's partly why we were able to increase our volume. But the very important aspect we also did is focus a lot on exports. And we began,
what particular markets?
Goma. We started going into Goma. The North Kivu, strengthened our foothold in Bukavu, the southeastern part of DRC, to the extent that from 15% in the previous year, exports contributed about 19% during this year. Yeah, so those are some of the contributors in terms of project. But I have to say, the construction segment, the cement especially, and the construction segment in general, was really key in terms of sustaining activity and contribute, because cement and construction is systemic. when it is operating, then it also, there's a lot of people employed on the sites.
Correct.
And so on and so forth.
So the spillover effects.
The spillover effects, and I have to say we are proud that we were able to help the economy in that manner, or help the country by, at least making sure that
someone is breathing.
Yeah, somebody is breathing. But there's good news from the projections that we have seen. I think most analysts are indicating that the GDP should grow by 6-7% over the next few years.
And basing on that, what do you see Cimero's performance?
Basing on that, there is a correlation from what we know, looking at historical trends between GDP and cement.
What are you expecting?
Yeah, so we should be expecting something close to, particularly with the projects, maybe about 10% growth in terms of the market, considering the GDP projections. So for Cimero as well, we are very well positioned to tap into that.
What about your capacity in terms of looking at the dynamics in the market?
Yeah.
That's fine. But internally, to what extent you can go.
Yeah.
How much can you deliver if factors were to be in your favor?
Yeah. So, thank you. So, as you've seen over the last few years, we have consistently grown our production capacity to match and even exceed the market growth. So, looking ahead, we also have initiatives to keep improving on the production capacity, so that we can. Right now, we are more than 80% if you compare with in terms of rate of performance compared to the 600,000. So over the next 2 years, we intend to exceed. To reach and exceed the 600,000, and also exploring, opportunities to go beyond that as a company. So there is specific actions. For example, I'm sure you've had over the last 2 years that we've been working on equipment in the plant to the key bottlenecks. Yeah, and one had. Like our raw meal had some issues, and we've done a lot of work to improve its performance. The kiln where we burn the clinker. Also, in terms of reliability, this is what has really given us this performance to be able to show the 7% growth. So going forward, we also have further one or two investments around the raw meal. Because I think the key issue, as you may know, for us is the level of moisture because Mashuza is a wet underground, so it's the level of moisture in the limestone. Yeah, so we are looking at solutions to address that issue, and I've got in our investment pipeline investments plan to tackle that, in addition to other aspects which involve innovation and so on and so forth. So you're going to be seeing quite a few further improvements from where we are going forward.
Lastly, what lessons have you learned as a CEO and an executive in our lifetime? I think I suppose you're not yet 100 to have experienced the pandemics of the 1918.
Yeah.
What lessons have you learned as a leader in a pandemic or in an extreme environment of managing both resources and also performing according to your expectations?
Yeah, so for me, it's about consistency and also trusting in your capabilities as a leader and trusting in the capabilities of your team. And of course, that means you need to surround yourself with the right people on all fronts, because you cannot do it alone. At the end of the day, you're working through people. Yeah, so that is really key. But as I said at the beginning, you also need to be very clear on your purpose and direction, because if you want to steer the ship, even if there is some waves, on the journey. Yeah, you must keep your eye on the ball and say, this is here, but we're gonna get over it, and that is where we want to go. So the dial must keep pointing. The compass has to keep pointing.
Did you reach at some point where you had extremely difficult moments where even a decision looks like a red button to press?
Of course, when there is a crisis, that is the definition of a crisis. Yeah. So when we had situations like like that at the beginning, particularly when COVID was fresh, where nobody knew what direction it's going to take, and it wasn't easy. So again, it's about the resilience of the system you've built in terms of how do you respond to the crisis? Do you invoke your crisis management team? What support systems do you have? But I think as a leader, that's the moment when you need to stay calm.
What skill set did you, or character, did you find that was key for you to be able to stay and maintain the momentum?
During moments of crisis, that's when you should stay calm. It's not the moment.
Settle down.
It is not the moment to panic. But staying calm doesn't mean that you're not absorbing the gravity of the situation. Yeah, you stay calm so that you can be able to really take it in and take measured decisions with the help of the ecosystem and colleagues around you. And that is what we did. Because they are difficult decisions. I mean, we had to, for example, we have a loan, and we didn't know whether this...
You are going to make any money.
Yes. How do we repay this loan? In fact, at the beginning of the pandemic, we were on overdraft. And now this pandemic has come, so we had to have some very difficult discussions with our bankers, for example, and got like many other businesses. Yes, got a moratorium and a repayment holiday like many other companies, and also took some hard decisions in terms of even on the cost side. We invoked some force majeure on certain contracts.
Wow.
And so on. So these are not easy decisions because you're sitting across the table with suppliers or partners whom this decision will hit them as hard as it's going to hit you. But in terms of for the mutual benefit of both of you, you have to sit and say, yeah, this is good for us.
Did you have some moments of triumph, even when it was difficult?
Absolutely. Yes, a lot of those. A lot of those beginning with. Yes, absolutely. I think the crowning moments at the end of the day was the 2 sets of results last year in September, and you've seen the ones for this year. Those were really, that is what really summarizes the picture. But if you break it down, there are many triumphs. If I begin with health and safety, today we have about 100% vaccination. We have close to 100%. I think it's only one staff member who is yet to be fully vaccinated, all the doses. So for us, that's really good because, as I said, priority is health and safety of our employees. And the same with contractors and partners. We've encouraged a lot of them, those who interact with us in our operations, to get vaccinated. And we have assisted them through our clinic and through our, collaboration with the Ministry of Health and RBC. And the fact that all our staff and the partners we work with have come through this crisis. Yes, there were some infections on COVID, but they've come through it and recovered very well. I think we feel very proud of that. Then, of course, for me also, in a crisis, at the end of the day, when you come out of it, you look back and you say, I would never have done this if it wasn't for it. Examples like the way we use various systems. I mean, we accelerated right now. There's things that we continue doing today in terms of virtual meetings, in terms of we try to automate. We rolled out very many systems last year in terms of PaySpace and new version of SAP ERP, because we realize that we need to move faster on technology and exploitation of the same because you just don't know whether after 3 months another lockdown. So during the second year of the pandemic, when a lockdown is announced or a restriction is announced, the systems already, they kick in very quickly, because when we say, I don't know, 30% of the staff coming to work in the corporate office, Kigali, or when you say, for example, we need to do this at the plant, the systems are already there. We've rolled out policies and guidelines in terms of how to handle crisis situations, particularly pandemic. Yeah, so there's gains on technology, there's gains on innovation, there's gains on cost management, there's gains on working culture, speed of execution. There's gains on, I think it also brings the teams closer together, and quite a few. We've got quite a few of colleagues that came in during the pandemic as we were strengthening the organization, and also that helps us a lot. So we are much stronger overall. Yeah, on account of what we learned through the pandemic and our focus on our strategy.
I see here on your screen a breakdown of of your products. Could you take us through this?
Okay, thank you, Magnus.
So we have 3 bags here.
Correct. So no, actually those are 4.
4. Oh, yes, 4 bags.
Yeah. So if you remember, Magnus, in May last year, right in the middle of a pandemic, we relaunched our products.
The first one, the blue one.
The blue one is SureSem. Okay.
SureSem.
Yes, all of them, of course, are Simanya Rwanda.
This is 32.5 N.
Correct. The first one is SureSem. SureSem is for general purpose applications. You can use it for this building, for example. It's for general purpose. It can do most of the work that is required in construction. Yeah, if you want to build your mansionette or 1 or 2 story building, this one can do the job.
Okay.
Yeah. SureWall.
This is 22.5.
22.5. As you can see, it's written there, Ibikuta. Yeah. So it's for plastering.
Plastering on the walls.
And brick joinery. In between the bricks, you have a mortar.
Okay.
So it's very specifically designed for that, and it has a better workability. Yeah. So when you're plastering, and it is also cheaper. So it goes at a lower price. For example, the price of this is about 7-8, compared to this, which is around 9,000, 9,100 today. So there's a price difference, but you cannot use it, for example, for foundation. That is not the application. So we are working on training and engaging the customers and the market to understand the application.
Okay.
Exactly.
So you have SureBuild.
SureBuild. This one is 42.5. Yes, correct. And that one, Magnus, is for more high strength concrete. It's not really. I wouldn't use the word durable, because all cement actually is durable. Yes.
But this is more
correct. For example, it will set faster. So if you are doing a bridge with where you want it to happen very quickly, then you probably use this, because you can demold quickly so that you don't interfere with the traffic. So it's or a very more high strength applications. So faster. So it tends to be used mainly by in our channels by contractors, or the likes of
those with heavy construction.
Yes, or the people with ready mix plants, the concrete ready mix production facilities.
I see.
And so on and so forth. So
okay, and then we have
SureRoad. And this one is designed specifically for road construction, because you do need as part of the ingredients in road construction cement. So
with all these 4 products,
yes,
which one plays a bigger role on your
in our portfolio. Of course, the general purpose one.
Okay.
Yes, that's because it's very widely applied. Everybody that needs cement, before most of the people would be going for this one. So in the portfolio,
so now let's compare both volume and cost and revenues.
Yes.
Is it the one that you produce the most?
Yes.
Like in terms of numbers?
Correct.
But so that reflects on the revenue.
On the revenue. So most of our revenues are SureSem. And the reason we went for this Magnus is because we wanted to go application based, as opposed to everybody just thinking like cement is cement. That would be the mentality. Because when you think cement is cement, number one, there's a lot of wastage on the side. Because if you use SureBuild, where you could use SureSem, or you use SureBuild for plastering, number one,
each product here has its own price.
It has its own price. Yes,
the first one is...
this is the lowest.
This is the lowest. SureWall.
Followed by SureSem and SureRod. And then SureBuild. Yes, correct. Because also the production cost of this one is higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is the innovation that
on the market, is there like competition for each product?
You see, as Cimerwa, we look at ourselves as the leaders in the Great Lakes region.
Not just Rwanda.
That's our view. We want to be the leaders. So we're leaders in Rwanda, but in the eastern.
Is there enough deposits for how many years? Enough cement for maybe 50 years, 100 years?
There is, we have deposits in Rwanda, but we are also looking at, casting our eyes, elsewhere.
In the region?
Yes, to be able to get even more. Because cement is a long-term game, 100 years. So with that, you really have to think long-term. Yeah, so our competition, of course, is, they have their own products, but a lot of them are more, let's say, taking a commodity approach, where you just talk about what's the price. But we really want to engage our customers differently by saying, what is the issue you have? How can we solve it for you? Going beyond just the cement grade and saying, what's the challenge? If it's, for example, the airport project, we engage them very intensely and say, what's the offloading system? In fact, we don't deliver for the airport project in bags.
What do you do?
We deliver using bulk tankers. So we have
when it's ready for use.
The banana truck.
Yeah. So they buy a particular volume
and we pump it in the plant, and then we give it. We pump it out to their silos at the site, and we do that for the more sophisticated customers, which is mainly the construction segment.
That's an added value.
It is an added value. It's another type of a value proposition. So with the we looking at ourselves at really engaging at that level with the customers in terms of what's the challenge you have, how can we help you to solve it. In fact, some of the conversations we have are beyond, happen much earlier, even in terms of sharing ideas about the design of concrete, doing some calculations together for the site, and finding special solutions. There is even customers that we supply in big bags.
I see.
The big 500 kilo 1 ton bags and so on. So we are taking the conversation beyond just what's the price and what is the cement grade.
Okay, as I think we've done a good job of explaining some of the things that I was, as you close, what did you promise your board? Or what do they expect from you?
It's not just a promise to the board, but as we engage the market, we know the market has got expectations as well, because we are a listed company and our numbers are out there. Our prospectus during listing was also out there. It's a public document, so we can talk about it. Yeah, so the market is expecting performance improvement by profitability, top line, and earnings per share, and a whittling down of the debt, bringing down the debt. And I'm glad to say that so far, I think we are meeting the expectations of what we said we would do, one year ago. Because on all those parameters we have discussed, and on the debt, we are on track to extinguish it by 2024, which is what we also promised. Now, going forward, of course, they're expecting more of the same. And I think, as we have discussed, I feel that we are in a good state to deliver on that promise, because we've got a great team from the board, management, and staff. And this is really key. We have the right strategy. We have a very clear strategy, so we know what direction we are taking, backed up by our purpose, and all the strategic initiatives that we are executing are very clear. And then also we have backing up our purpose. We are very, very well integrated with the society and the community. Yeah, and I believe we have shared in the past about the various initiatives that we are doing on that to make sure that we are a sustainable business by taking care of the school, the clinic, the market, tailoring cooperative, water treatment plant, and so on and so. So we continue investing on those. So yeah, I have no doubt that when we speak again in the next 12 months, we'll be sharing another brilliant story from Cimerwa PLC.
You know what, Mr. Sgei?
Yes, sir.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Hope you hit the numbers.
We will do it.
Make the bosses smile, and we all smile.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.